Okay, so we are going to start slope-intercept form. And you have seen it before, but we didn't talk about it. So remember when we were writing the linear functions rule, or excuse me, the function rules, and you ended up with y equals, let's say we had 2x minus 4. So remember, you were given a table, and you had to determine what this rule is. This is actually called slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. And we've already talked about m. M is the slope, which is the steepness of a line. And then we are going to learn about b, which is the y-intercept. Okay, so we're going to talk about all those things. So if I have this equation, then I know that the slope is 2. Remember, we like to see it as rise over run, so 2 over 1. And the y-intercept is, I don't know why I put it in parentheses. And the y-intercept is 0, negative 4. Okay, I'm going to explain a little bit on intercepts. You have X-intercepts and Y-intercepts. And just very quickly, what these are is it's the point where the graph crosses that axis. Okay, it's the point where the graph crosses that axis. So I am going to do a really quick graph just to kind of give you some mindset of what we're doing. So hopefully you can see this green line. Okay, so the x-axis, and then we have the y-axis. So the x-intercept is where the line for the graph crosses the x-axis. So it crosses it right there at negative 3, 0. And then the y-intercept crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 0, 6. Okay, and so we will be using the y-intercept. Okay, and we will talk more about graphing lines using both intercepts, but for right now we're going to focus on the y. So if you have any equation, the plus. So you have y equals 2/3 x plus 1. So from there we can pull out the slope, which is 2/3. And then the y-intercept is 0, 1. Or if you know that it's 1, that is fine. So if I were to graph this, I'm just going to do a really quick sketch. So if I were to graph this, you start with the point. You put start here. So we're going to put a point at 0, 1. And then we are going to use the slope. So you know that this is a positive slope, which means my line is going to be going in this direction. It is rise over run, so I'm going to go up 2, to the right 3, for another point. And I could do up 2, and to the right 3 again, for another point. But you like to have at least 3 lines, or excuse me, at least 3 points. Also remember that we can go down 2 and to the left 3. That is also going to give us what we need. And I like to use my straight edge. I want to zip a line through there. I'm going to go ahead and let's do an example. I want you to identify the slope and y-intercept from the graph and write an equation in slope-intercept form. Okay? Oops, and you can't see any of that. Okay, so we have a two-part question. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick graph here. Okay, so from this graph, we need to do three things. First thing, we're going to find the slope. Then we're going to find the y-intercept. Then we're going to write the equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so I am going to find my other marker here. Okay, so I'm going to find my slope, or my y-intercept, doesn't really matter which one you do first, we've learned both. So y-intercept, 1, 2, 3, so that's where it crosses the y-axis. So remember, that's a negative. So either 0 and -3, or if you just put -3, that is fine. Slope, I'm going to count my boxes like I have learned. I'm going to go up 1 and 1, 2, 3. So up 1 and to the right 3. This is a positive slope. I have a positive slope. And then I'm going to put these two together in an equation. Y equals m, which is 1/3, x plus b. So whether you write plus a -3, I prefer just a -3. So given a graph, you can identify the slope, y-intercept, and write the equation. Now, we talked a little bit in Unit 1, I believe it was, about literal equations. We're going to make this example 2. And we are going to talk also about, quickly, about standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. You've seen this before. Again, we've never talked about it. But if you have something like 2x plus 5y equals 10, that is standard form, where x and y are on one side, and equal to some number. And depending on the teacher or the textbook, you have some restrictions. And that would be that your a, which is your number in front of the x, and here's your b, which is the number in front of your y. A and b cannot be fractions. And I learned that a cannot be negative. So that's just going to depend on what teacher you have as far as what they're looking for. So the way that this relates into slope-intercept form is we need to be able to turn this into y equals mx plus b. So that means we are going to solve for y. So we're going to solve for y, which means that this is the good guy, this is the good guy, 5 is the friend. Need to get rid of the 2x. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. Bring down the 5y equals Remember, you cannot combine these. They are not like terms. I would get in the habit of putting that x term first so that it is truly in the form of y equals mx plus b. We're going to turn around and divide each term by 5. So y equals negative 2/5 x, and that reduces to plus 2. So now we're right back where we were for example 1. Slope is negative 2/5, and the y-intercept is 2. Okay, so there is the quick intro to slope-intercept form.